Welcome to the Infogain Hub channel. Before we move on to this important topic, I request you to watch this video fully and subscribe and share with your friends. The streets of Dhaka, once bustling with life, are now gripped by fear. A wave of protests, ignited by a controversial government policy, has plunged Bangladesh into chaos. At the heart of the turmoil lies the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a figure who has dominated the nation's political landscape for over a decade. Hasina's departure, a desperate attempt to quell the unrest, has only deepened the crisis. The military, a powerful force in Bangladeshi politics, has stepped in, declaring a state of emergency. The nation now teeters on the brink, its future uncertain. The speed at which the situation has unraveled is staggering. Just weeks ago, Bangladesh seemed to be on a path of steady progress. Now, the specter of violence and instability looms large. Dhaka, a city of over 22 million people, has become a battleground. The air is thick with tear gas, the deafening roar of protest chants punctuated by the chilling crackle of gunfire. What began as peaceful demonstrations have descended into deadly clashes between protesters and security forces. Hospitals, overwhelmed by the casualties, struggle to cope. The injured, many bearing horrific wounds, paint a grim picture of the violence that has engulfed the city. The death toll continues to rise. Each life lost a stark reminder of the human cost of this crisis. Amidst the chaos, ordinary citizens are caught in the crossfire. Fear permeates every corner of the city as Dhaka descends into a state of paralysis. Shops are shuttered, businesses closed, and the streets eerily deserted. At the heart of this unrest lies a government policy, the quota system for public service jobs. Designed to uplift disadvantaged communities, it has become a lightning rod for discontent among students. Critics argue the system is flawed, riddled with corruption and nepotism. They claim it benefits the well-connected rather than the deserving. For many, the quota system represents a broken promise. When the government announced plans to expand it, it was the final straw. Students, grappling with frustration, took to the streets. The protests morphed into a broader expression of discontent. Faced with mounting protests, the government's response was swift and brutal. Security forces, armed with tear gas, rubber bullets, and live ammunition, cracked down hard on demonstrators. The images that emerged from Dhaka, students bloodied and beaten, journalists attacked, and ambulances blocked, sent shockwaves across the world. But the government's attempts to crush the protests only served to further inflame the situation. The internet was shut down, a desperate attempt to control the narrative and prevent the spread of information. A curfew was imposed, transforming the once vibrant city into a ghost town after dark. The crackdown backfired spectacularly. The government's heavy-handed tactics, far from quelling dissent, only fueled the flames of anger and resentment. The protests, now fueled by a potent mix of anger, grief, and defiance, continued to escalate. As the situation spiraled out of control, Sheikh Hasina, once seen as a formidable leader, found herself increasingly isolated, facing mounting pressure, both domestically and internationally. She made the dramatic decision to flee the country, seeking refuge in neighboring India. Her departure, shrouded in secrecy and drama, marked a stunning fall from grace. The woman who had led Bangladesh for over a decade, overseeing a period of economic growth and development, was now a fugitive, her legacy tarnished by the bloodshed on the streets of her own capital. Hasina's departure left a dangerous power vacuum in its wake. The military, sensing an opportunity, seized control, declaring a state of emergency and promising to restore order. But the question on everyone's lips remained: would the military relinquish control, or would Bangladesh once again fall under the grip of military rule? Section 6. A chorus of condemnation, the global response. The international community watched the events in Bangladesh with growing alarm. Condemnation of the government's crackdown on protesters was swift and unanimous. The United Nations called for restraint, urging all parties to engage in dialogue and seek a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Human rights organizations, outraged by the violence and the suppression of fundamental freedoms, demanded an independent investigation into the government's actions. The Committee to Protect Journalists, or CPJ, called for the immediate release of all detained journalists and an end to the intimidation and censorship of the press. The United States, a key ally of Bangladesh, expressed deep concern over the situation, urging the government to respect the rights of its citizens and allow for peaceful protests. The European Union echoed these sentiments, calling for a swift return to democratic norms and the rule of law. Section 7. Bangladesh at a crossroads, the path ahead. Bangladesh stands at a crossroads. The country, once hailed as a model of development and democracy in South Asia, now faces an uncertain future. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, and the stakes could not be higher. The immediate priority is to restore order and end the violence that has gripped the nation. But beyond this immediate crisis lies a deeper challenge: addressing the root causes of the unrest and rebuilding trust in the government. The military, now in control, faces a crucial test. It must resist the temptation to cling to power and instead pave the way for a swift return to democratic rule. Free and fair elections, held as soon as possible, are essential to restore legitimacy and allow the people of Bangladesh to choose their own leaders. Section 8. Echoes of History, a nation's struggle for democracy. The current crisis in Bangladesh is a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy, particularly in a region grappling with a history of political turmoil and military intervention. The echoes of the past, of coups and counter-coups, loom large over the present. Bangladesh has walked this path before. Born out of a bloody war of independence in 1971, the nation has witnessed its share of political instability and violence. The assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the country's founding father, and Sheikh Hasina's father in 1975, plunged the nation into years of military rule. It was not until 1991 that democracy was restored, with Sheikh Hasina emerging as a key figure in the fight for civilian rule. The current crisis threatens to unravel decades of progress and plunge Bangladesh back into the shadows of authoritarianism. Section 9. A call for hope. The importance of global solidarity. The situation in Bangladesh is dire, but it is not without hope. The international community has a vital role to play. Humanitarian assistance is urgently needed. Beyond immediate relief, commitment to human rights is crucial. Pressure must be brought to bear on the military. Support for civil society and independent media is crucial. The future of Bangladesh hangs in the balance. Now is the time for solidarity. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates on future content. Feel free to drop your questions and comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.